Should the New Orleans Saints trade for Davante Adams? Obviously, I'm not going to say no because he is one of the best receivers in the entire NFL. Yes, he is on the older side, but he is still elite. Now, do the Saints have the capital to pay him, or do they have the compensation that they're willing to give up to get him in terms of draft capital or what have you? That part, I don't know. Um, but if you don't know by now, Davante Adams, it looks like his time with the Las Vegas Raiders is coming to an end. I guess his head coach, Antonio Pierce, accidentally, or I don't know if it was an accident or not, but he apparently liked a Instagram post that said that Davante Adams has likely played his last down as a Raider. Well, today he was on Kay Adams' show, and she basically asked him about that, and here is that clip.
So this big story happens where they think your coach or your coach did, I actually don't know, likes this post about you getting traded. When you heard of that, I guess my first question is how quickly, how soon did you hear from coach?
Um, yeah, I haven't heard from him. I haven't talked to him. So I haven't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know exactly what that was about. Obviously, I got social media is a beast, so it's a lot of people out there that saw it and wondering what's going on and people reaching out and yeah, I haven't spoke to him.
So apparently he liked this post. Who knows if it was on purpose or not? I mean, apparently it was right. Considering he hasn't even reached out to his star wide receiver and cleared things up, apologized or whatever. So clearly everything is not all good with Davante Adams in Las Vegas with the Raiders. And here's another clip from the same show. Them talking about, well, you just watch.
And uh, and what I'm hearing is that here's a lot of people think you may never play another down as a Raider. What would you say to that?
All I can control is this talk we're having right here, and then after we're done with this, all I can control is the next thing that I'm on to. So I'm gonna get.
So basically, that doesn't sound. I mean, at least to me, it doesn't sound like a guy that expects to play with the Raiders again, right? At least not long term. He's kind of dancing around the question a little bit. If he was confident about his future there, he would say, "Oh, this is my team. I'm excited to go out there and play, yada yada." But he did not do that. So it looks like his situation with the Raiders looks like kind of they're both ready to move on for whatever reason.
Get up.
And now to the next point, could the Saints use Davante Adams? Obviously, right? Like every team in the NFL could use a Davante Adams. And the Saints right now, their depth at the wide receiver position is just not very good at all. Right? Here's their depth chart, or here's the roster. Okay, so we got Bub Means, right? 6'2", 215. He's a rookie, drafted late. You know, we don't know, right? He could turn out to be great, but we don't know right now. Not great in terms of depth, right? Chris Olave is the wide receiver one, elite, great wide receiver, totally fine there. And then we have A.T. Perry. Now, A.T. Perry, this is the big body receiver that I think the Saints offense is missing. Okay, 6'5, 205 pounds. We saw him last year in games when he got the opportunity make a lot of contested catches, touchdowns, big explosive plays again when he was actually on the field. Now, this year we're what is it? Been now 4 weeks deep into the season, and I don't even think he's been active once. I know he was hurt last week, but I mean, has he kind of been dealing with that injury all year? Is it something he's not doing in practice? Is this something like is he not? I don't know. Is he not putting the work in? Who knows? But for some reason, A.T. Perry has not been on the field for the Saints this year. Now, could it one maybe possibility is he's just not that good of a blocker on the perimeter, and that's why we've been seeing guys like Mason Tipton, who is an undrafted free agent, and Cedric Wilson Jr. Maybe Dennis Allen, Clint Kubiak feels like those guys are better blockers on the perimeter than A.T. Perry, right? And in this offense that the Saints run, that is huge. We're running wide zone, outside zone all the time, so having receivers out there on the edge that will actually block is huge, right? So again, Bud Means, Chris Olave, A.T. Perry, Mason Tipton, who we just talked about. You know, good player so far, young undrafted free agent, but he's not Davante Adams, right? Same thing with Cedric Wilson Jr. And then, of course, Rashid Shaheed, who is the current Saints wide receiver, too. Dynamic playmaker, no problems there, right? So outside of Shaheed, outside of Olave, not a lot of depth. Not really a guy that, when we're doubling Chris Olave with the game on the line, when we're putting a safety over the top of Shaheed with the game on the line, who else are you going to go to, right? There's not really that other dynamic player that you can count on in the clutch that Carr can count on to go to make a 50-50 contested catch, for the game-winning touchdown. That player outside of Olave and Shaheed, it's just really not on the Saints right now. So, of course, they could use a guy like Davante Adams, but, there's other likely landing spots for him, like the Jets reuniting with Aaron Rodgers. And, there's but again, he does have the Derek Carr connection. Derek Carr is one of the main reasons why he came to the Raiders in the first place, and then of course the Raiders moved off of Carr. Now, in terms of could they afford to pay him, right? The answer is probably not. But I'll admit I'm not good with work doing the salary cap numbers. I can look at the film and tell you what's going on there, but when it comes to the numbers, I ain't good at it. So we trust somebody who is, right? Ross Jackson. Um, I'll link his stuff in the description. This is from his website, louisianasports.net. He wrote about it today. And basically, he said he mentioned how the Saints and the Raiders were in talks last year with Hunter Renfro, but it didn't work out due to financial reasons. And then he says the dollar figure may end up being a deterrent this time around as well, should the Saints check in on the opportunity to land the 32-year-old wideout, Davante Adams. It is likely that a team acquiring Adams would look to rework his contract. Can you guys see that? Make that a little smaller. Look to rework his contract. He entered the 2024 season with a $16.89 million base. If he is traded now with 4 games already paid out, his salary would hover around the $13.5 million mark, while at the trade deadline, which is the Tuesday following week 9, the acquiring team would take on $8.6 million. So if somebody traded for him right now, they would owe him $13.5 million. If they waited a while, it would go down. It would go down every single week, obviously, because as the weeks go on, the Raiders pay him because he's still a Raider. So the longer he goes on the Raiders, the cheaper it would be for another team to draft or to trade for him or to pay him once they trade for him. Right. So it says either situation would be well out of the Saints cap or well out of the Saints' capabilities cap wise per the NFLPA salary cap report. The Saints sit with just $3.2 million of free cap space. But if they were able to rework the deal as a part of the trade, things could possibly be made more consumable. Though that process could end up costing the Saints a bit more in trade compensation if the arrangement were to require Las Vegas to take in some of the finances to help facilitate the move. So basically, he's saying that the Saints and the Raiders could work out a situation where the Raiders agree to pay some of his salary, some of what they owe him, in exchange for more trade capital from the Saints or whatever team that takes him. So you kind of, they pay him more, they pay some of his salary, but the Saints got to give up more to get him. Is basically what Ross is suggesting here. So, you know, is it ideal for the Saints to make this move? Absolutely not, right? But could they make it work if they truly, truly, really, really wanted to? Yes. And then Ross goes on to say, this is the part that makes the trade option realistic and why the Saints should at least check in on the deal. He's referring to, them working out the deal with the finances and the trade compensation. So it says a rework of his contract could also include cutting down his exorbitant base salaries for 2025 and 2026. Each year carries $0 of guaranteed salary, which is a big benefit in the situation. Hypothetically, the Saints could drop his 2024 cap hit while giving him guaranteed money in 2025 and or 2026 at a much lower rate than his non-guaranteed figures. So, would I like to see them trade for Davante Adams? Why not? Right? Let's have a little fun while we're at it. We're sitting at 2-2, two tough losses in a row. Why not? Why not go get a big-bodied, star receiver to add to this offense? Give Clint another guy to work into the offense. Give Carr back his buddy. Adams and Carr, of course, teammates in college, roommates in college. They love each other. They love playing with each other. Why not just go for it? If this ship is going to go down with Dennis Allen, might as well have a little bit of fun while doing it, right? Appreciate you guys watching. Peace.